Why does it feel so hard to find a good tenant? Hi, I'm Joshua Nairn with Realty Trust Services. And as always, I'm here to help grow your prosperity. So today we're going to look at the trouble of finding a good tenant and how to finally get it right. So let's get started here. First off, rushing the process. Vacancies cost money. Get it. But skipping proper screening just to get someone in there could lead to months of stress, if not thousands, in repairs and eviction costs. The average cost of an eviction, about $3,500 in lost rent and damages. So, how do we fix this? Well, it's pretty easy. Take the time to run thorough background checks, credit checks, income verification, reference calls. Yes, looking to see if they have any recent evictions on the record. Trust me, there are red flags out there a lot of times. So we need to be vigilant when trying to find good tenants. Use all the tools at your disposal. And it's, one of the biggest things, charge one for a background check. If, it's usually around $45. And if that's one box at a $45 background check, trust me, I know I've had to do them. I know they're as a person doing it's annoying, but if you want to be in a place, you understand how things work. You understand that there's a necessity behind that. So, problem number 2, falling for a good story. Now, this is one I can be a sucker for. I always root for the underdog, and I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I tend to be a glass half full kind of guy. I believe, and I hope that people want to change and want to do better, and that sometimes people's bad circumstances maybe aren't necessarily of their own doing. And there are times that's the case, but majority of the time, that's not the case. And being responsible, investor, you can't afford to go off good stories. Because let me tell you, there are some good storytellers out there that have been, the ringer, and you understand that this isn't my fault. I mean, they're there, and it's tough because I know for me personally, I want to help people. It's part of the reason why I do what I do, because I am putting the opportunity to help investors grow their prosperity through Realty Trust Services, and I enjoy what I do. And I think to be in a service industry that like property management, you have to have a heart. You can't just be all about this. There has to be something in here. But you can't just keep, the stories, they just come. I know they hit you hard. Like, I've had it not just in business, but when I was a manager for companies, someone in a good job review, I just need a second chance. It's just like, yeah, in the times, unfortunately, in my experience, when I felt for that, well, the majority of times, a little bright in my face. Now, there were times when, someone met those expectations, they just need a second chance, and they worked above and beyond, but the risk reward, in my experience, far outweighed, going with that and accepting it. And again, I'm not a heartless person, and I learned this one from experience, my credit score isn't great because of my ex. Now, there's a lot of that time there are times that does happen, but why is their credit score bad because they're ex? Is it because they were irresponsible, that their ex handled everything because they're incapable? I've had situations personally with people that I love and care for that did have an ex ruin their credit, did have an ex completely destroy them financially. Maybe with that, are they back on their feet? Is it something you feel like you can afford to risk? And I can pay the deposit in a week. Can I just move in today? That's a serious problem. Because say they move in, they don't pay the deposit, they don't pay, they're not paying rent, they're not paying rent. Then you have to evict them, and then you have no money to recoup any potential losses or damages that have occurred. They can completely destroy the house, and that's going to be completely out of your pocket. I mean, you have good insurance, but still, it's why put yourself through that? So, really, ideally, you look for someone with consistent income, a clean history, and verifiable references, and those should be non-negotiables. Because in the end, you still have to invest and make money to be able to supply a home for someone. So even if you are doing this, you have a huge heart and want to help someone, but you help the wrong person, and ends up hurting you. You end up potentially losing everything. And it's just, are you willing to risk it? Is that person, worth you risking it? Another huge problem is incomplete screen systems. So some people can be very lazy about their, how they screen. Go from Google searches, and look on Facebook. I mean, I've heard some funny things. Or not verifying references. I mean, there's there's definitely some funny things that have occurred. But real screening requires you have to look into their credit. You need to see if there's any evictions. See if, verify their employment. That's simple. You get pay stubs. I mean, some of these things are very easy. And verify their identity with an ID, which should be required. It's there's a few steps that can save you a lot of headache. I said no system's perfect, but I'm telling you, you do those things. You check credit, you check background, check for evictions, check for those three things. It's going to help eliminate a lot of headaches. Even if you don't, call references or whatever, those three things alone, it's like the idea of washing your hands. Yeah, you may wash your hands off, anytime you touch something, you might still get sick. But the chances of you getting sick is greatly reduced. So at least those three things. Credit check, background check, check for evictions. You do those things, it's good. At least those three things. It's going to help eliminate a lot of your headaches. And and we have a multi-screening process at Realty Trust Services. We're checking their backgrounds. We're checking their credit. We're checking for evictions. We we want to make sure that our people are, the tenants we're picking for our clients are the best we can get them for that area. Now, there's some areas. Let's be honest. You're not going to find a lot of people with those plus 700 credit score. I mean, that's just a reality. Depending on where the property is located. But we still do our due diligence for those neighborhoods as well and check those three things. So, I mean, it's important. It is really important because, again, it's your livelihood on the line. And if they're not paying the mortgage, you are. So why do that? I understand. You want to be nice, you want to help people. But why do that? Now, I will say this. I believe some people have really good intuition. For those people who have good intuition, yeah, you might want to trust your gut. But verify. There's nothing wrong with verifying. You know, I tend to, I think that I can be a good judge of character by, but I've learned in my life to verify. Because again, I've made mistakes. There's been plenty of times where I've been a hired manager at different jobs or made recommendations purely how someone came off and had a good feeling. And there's times where I was, you know, the expectations were met. But there are times I got burned. Because again, just like, I hope all you guys, I have a big heart. Really, at least I think I do. I do care about people. And I want the best for people, and I do root for the underdog. So, don't go on your gut alone. Yeah, I don't care if you were a detective for 25 plus years, have probably the best gut out there. Verify, find the evidence that proves you right. Um, so this all brings me to, in the end, I mean, these things are hard to do. It seems like you need to be completely emotionally cut off from the situation to make the best decision. And that's true. But that's part of why professional property management matters. And I've said for Realty Trust Services, we take tenant placement very seriously. We are looking for the best to fill our clients' vacancies because evictions are a headache for our clients. Vacancies are a headache for our clients. And our goal, it sincerely is to grow your prosperity. So if we're not finding quality tenants, we're not helping you in your process of growing your prosperity. So it's important. So in a lot of ways, the property manager, we're a tenant detective or a good tenant detector potentially, especially if you have the right systems, which I do. And and they're also we work with our clients. We put them at ease, knowing that their property is being managed by a quality company, and we're very easily reached by phone, email, Google chat, whatever. Um, we are available. We're an actual company, multiple employees, multiple departments, designed to take care of you. Because most of the people who looking for property management services, they know how hard it is to mainly find a good tenant and not one that's gonna give some great story and then flake out. And that is probably, in my opinion, the hardest part of being a landlord is having the right tenants. And especially if you have a big heart, which I think there has to be a heart. Because if you have a big heart, you're going to take proper care of the property, help create a home environment for your tenant. Because if you create a home environment for your tenant, they're going to stay longer. They're going to take better care of it. I mean, we have tenants that we've placed that, just treat the property like it's their home. There's a lady in the, I guess you could say, in Edgewater neighborhood, and she lives in the down of a duplex, and she's out there planting perennials. She has these gorgeous flower baskets, hanging flower baskets everywhere. The bushes are well. It is. It looks like her home, but it is a quality house that is well taken care of, by the owner. So, in that, she's been there for probably, I think, if I remember correctly, 16 years, give or take, and is, never have a complaint. Because if you take care of it, honestly, and you find the right tenants, there's less to complain about for the tenant, too. So, but we take these steps and we, we do everything that is possible to find the best tenant who's going to want to stay longer, who's going to want to take care of the place better, who is going to want to make it a home. But again, you can wash your hands, but there's times you're still going to get sick. Because the one variable to this thing that's not sure is humanity. And I've been alive long enough and worked in enough industries and been around investing and tenant placement, things like that to know that there's always a first for everything. You could have someone who has the best background check, who could have the best references, the best credit, no evictions. Then all of a sudden, they magically become an issue. I have a client has properties up in Canada, and he leased to this woman who perfect background check, perfect credit check, no evictions, great job. Was actually climbing the corporate ladder for this pretty big company, and then all of a sudden, she had a boyfriend move in, and all of a sudden, she lost her job, and the rent was being spotty. And to find out, she ended up developing a drug problem. And that's hard because who in America today has not been hit by that epidemic? Who can honestly say that they don't know or at least know of someone who was an upright, outstanding citizen until drugs really changed them, or a bad significant other, or loss of a job, company goes under, and then all of a sudden they can't find their footing. Real life happens. And that's one of the hardest things because when real life happens, you have to make real life decisions. And part of those real life decisions are, can this person stay in my property? Now, if you're a person with a big heart, it's hard. Even when sometimes when someone they deserve it, sometimes you're still going to feel bad. But that's the things with the property management company, especially like Realty Trust Services. You have that buffer. So you don't have to get involved. You don't have to worry about, someone, getting mad because they're not meeting their responsibility and they have to be evicted. Blowing your phone up at 3 a.m. We manage that. You don't have to have any contact with a tenant at all. That's one of the great things about property management because, to be honest, for an investor managing the property, it can be an absolute nightmare. Because especially if you get the wrong tenant and you get the wrong person, I would say the majority of people I talk to who are experienced don't want to self-manage purely for that reason. And it's not because they don't love and care for people. It's just at times can be hard to make the right decision. And sometimes you want to go for that sob story. Sometimes you want to believe this person can and has changed. And I know those situations do occur. They really do. But are you willing to risk your livelihood for it? That's, so the property management company, you don't have to worry about buying this tenant. You don't have to worry about the sob stories. Because frankly, we try to keep this part as transactional as possible. Get the information. Are they qualified to live in your property? Because that should be the most important thing. Now, again, I say this with a heavy heart because I do believe in second chances, and I do believe people sometimes need a hand, and that's all they need to get going. But at the same token, I've seen that way too many times. Come back and bite someone and cause real financial distress for someone and their family. Because no one's in real estate investing to you know to make their properties free. I do know real estate investors who donate heavily to great causes, support great causes, and that help the disadvantaged. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But do you want to take that risk? With trust services, we take that risk. We have a vacancy guarantee, and we on average get at least 10,000 applications per month for the properties we manage. Over 50,000. Correction. We were 5,000, and over 50,000 a year. I apologize for that mistake, but it's actually over 5,000 a month, over 50,000 a year. That's 10% of the population of Cleveland proper. And we've been in this business long enough to know what works, and helping find good tenants to grow your prosperity. You don't have to worry about falling for the sob story. If you're not going to be the one here, you're not going to worry about the phone calls for middle of the night emergencies. That's what we're here for. You can do what you do best. That's investing. You're an investor. Your job is to find investment properties, not self-managing. At least most investors aren't. And if you're not self-managing and you have a hard time picking tenants, going with the property management company is a no-brainer. Especially as one like Realty Trust Services. About 16 years of excellent service. And we're always learning, and we're always applying what we learn as things change in the industry. So don't get yourself stuck. It's a bad tenant. Don't get yourself feeling bad for someone that probably shouldn't have leased your unit to. Let us help you. Self-protect your investment and your sanity. So this is Josh Winiermore, Business Development Manager with Realty Trust Services. As always, I'm here to help grow your prosperity. And I will see you soon. Have